Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our TI-83 Plus tutorial over how to use these calculators. Going to go over some of the basics. You'll see that we've got the 83 Plus here, same guy I bought when I was in high school. If you guys go out and buy one like I recommend, you'll probably have the 84 Plus Silver C, which is really nice. It comes in color, draws smoother lines, does lots of neat stuff. Basic functions here are, it is a calculator, so we've got all of our arithmetic functions over here. Enter we use for enter. We have our negative sign, which is going to be really important. And two other things that are going to be kind of new as far as from your basic calculators are going to be this set of parentheses buttons, which we'll use to help manipulate order of operations as we've talked about previously. And then the second function up here where we press this yellow button and that kind of unlocks all the yellow lettering above each of the letters. So if I want to quit something, I would press second and then the quit button, because you'll see right above mode it says quit. So that's how I would get out of a lot of programs. All right, now with the basics, now we're going to move into our next level of basics, which is actually graphing, why we call it a graphing calculator. We're always going to go to this y equals because that's how it's going to set up any functions that we want to graph. So I press the y equals button. You'll see whoever was using the calculator before me had something in. So we want to clear that out. I'm just going to use the clear button to wipe out everything. So there's that clear button, clears the whole thing out. From there, I'm going to press the zoom button. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says zoom standard or Z standard. Press enter. And that'll take me to this graph function here. And now I can see the actual graph. So you'll see I've got my x-axis and my y-axis drawn out. Now the zoom standard sets up the window, which we click on window, and now it shows me that I've got a minimum x value of -10, a maximum value for x equals 10. Same thing for y, y min, y max are both -10 and 10 respectively. And then I've also got the x SCL or scale and the y scale as well. And that basically tells me, if I go back over to graph, since I have a tick marks of 1 or scale of 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 10, and that's going to be the same in all directions because I have that scale set up that way. So going back into that y equals window, I'm going to type in a simple linear equation. We're just going to do y equals x plus 4. Okay, and then if we press graph, that shows me the exact line. Okay, now you'll notice if I count that tick marks up 1, 2, 3, 4, right there, y equals 4, I'll notice that's where my line intercepts the y-axis, which makes sense because if I look at the equation, what's my y-intercept? Y-intercept is 4, slope is 1, since we don't have anything in front of the x. So that's basically all it does, is it takes the information we give it for the function and graphs that function. Works if we have linear, quadratic, exponential, so on and so forth. Okay, now I'm back in the y equals menu, and I want to type in a second graph because you can actually graph multiple functions at one time. So underneath where it says y2, I'm going to type in parentheses 1 divided by 4, close parentheses, x minus 4. Okay. And the reason I do this with the parentheses here is because the calculator does a really good job with fractions so long as I make sure it does the fraction part first. Fractions are really just division, so I'm going to tell it 1 divided by 4 first inside the parentheses, then multiply it by x, then minus 4. Now with this, I've got now y equals mx plus b, where my m, my slope, is 1/4, and my b is -4. But actually, now that I see that, I realize I want to change that. So I'm going to go over to 4. I'm going to press this delete button so I don't clear out the whole thing. I just delete one character. And then I'm going to type back in 14. I want to change that to a 14. Now, when I press graph, we're going to see my first line still gets drawn, but then nothing happens. Okay? And the reason that nothing happens is, if we think about it, what's my y-intercept here? My y-intercept is -14. Going back to the window, the smallest y value I can see, the y minimum, is -14. So I'm going to have to change that if I want to see my graph. So I'm going to leave the x minimum and x maximum the same, leave the x scale the same, but I'm going to change my y minimum to -20. And I'm only going to go up to 5 for the y maximum. We'll keep the scale as 1 for right now. Now when I graph it, there's my first line up there real high, and it still intercepts it y equals 4, but down here at y equals negative 14, I can see that other line with that much flatter slope of 1/4 going through the y-intercept, or excuse me, the y-axis at negative 14. So those are some basics that we'll need to be doing as we're using these graphing calculators to help us graph on our own.